Yesterday we watched probably one of the most important Packer games in quite some time, and they lost it. There's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty right now of what's going to happen over these next few months, what's going to happen next year. The jump ball isn't quite in the air yet. They aren't between life or death this offseason, but they're getting into their stances with the moves they make this year, and the Packers have to make that next step. Let's take a quick preview of the Packers offseason and what it could mean for the future of this team. Aaron Rodgers has been the Packers starting quarterback since 2008, and now his future is uncertain. Will he be the Packers starting quarterback in 2021? 100%, I will guarantee you today. You don't have to pay attention to any of those headlines. However, the Packers are transitioning to Jordan Love right now. He might not be starting until 2022, but they are transitioning to building the teams that he will play with right now. So the Packers have a really peculiar situation on their hands at all levels. Aaron Rodgers, what message is he going to send? I personally believe that his best chance at a Super Bowl is with the Packers for at least 2021. But what internal conflict does he have in his mind that this team is ready to move on from me next year? They're telling me, win a ring, even if you do, even if you don't, we're probably going to get rid of you next year. The Packers aren't going all in to get a Super Bowl next year. They simply cannot afford it, and that's not their way how they do business. The biggest difference for the Packers from 2019 to 2020 was Aaron Rodgers' play. In 2019, he played like a top 10 quarterback. In 2020, he played like a top 2 quarterback at the very least, and I would say he's not 2. So, can he do that again in 2021? Because you don't have the ability. You cannot afford, like I just mentioned, you cannot afford to go all in. You cannot afford to build a team now in 2021 where it's not completely built around Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Jones most likely leaving, with Corey Linsley most likely leaving, 2 big parts of that offense. Corey Linsley, who doesn't get enough credit, leaving this offseason. There is a lot the Packers have to do to be a Super Bowl contender next year. The Packers also had a lot of young guys step up into a bigger role. Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage, Jair Alexander forming into a top 3 cornerback in the league here. They had a lot of young guys step up. Are you going to have those same young guys step up, especially in 2021 when your 2020 rookie class was, I love the draft class. I'm not here going to say that the 2021 Packers are doomed because of selections they made in April of 2020. I'm not saying that, but I don't see those second-year players being able to contribute as much as Rashawn Gary. MVS coming into his own here. I would love to see what A.J. Dillon adds next year, and it's going to be interesting to see how they go about that running back situation they have on their hands. Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones are 2 starters, both having contract years. Josiah Dewar, I'd love to see him get involved. And then you have Kamal Martin, 3 offensive tackle depth pieces. So those depth guys are going to have to prove they can be starters and not be a liability. The 2021 draft class, it's going to be interesting to see how they go about it. Picking at 29, selection 29, you're not going to be able to draft starters. Even in the first round, and the Packers have never been a team that goes solely off of need in their draft classes. So the biggest need for them is cornerback this year again. I'm not going to say it's wide receiver. Cornerback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, inside linebacker would be my top few needs for the Packers this draft class. Cornerback is a really hard position to get immediate success, immediate returns from a cornerback no matter how high you draft him. What does Brian Gutekunst do here? This offseason is the biggest test for him in my opinion, and we'll have to see what he does. I think there will be a lot of surprising moves made this offseason. There's going to be a lot of difficult calls for him to make. Preston Smith, Christian Kirksey, Rick Wagner, all possibly being cap casualties. As far as the coaching staff goes, oh boy. Matt LaFleur did not have his best showing yesterday, and it's getting, after 2 years, and I'm not going to say we're all doom and gloom about Matt LaFleur at this point. He's 26-6 in his first 2 years. He's been a great coach for the Packers, transitioning from Mike McCarthy. But is this going to be a problem that the stage is too big for him year in and year out? I mean, you lose, you get embarrassed to San Fran. You go down 18 at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game, and you have plenty of drives to come back. You abandon the run game, and you say in your press conference that you got away from the game plan. That's happened in every single one of your losses, Matt. It happened in Indy. It happened certainly against Minnesota. It happened against Tampa Bay earlier in the year. It happened probably in San Fran last year. He even admitted it happened in Philly. So in every single of your losses, if you get a little frustrated in the third quarter when you're down, that's not a good look. And 2 years from now, we could be calling for Matt LaFleur's head. I'm not saying I want him fired. I'm just saying he has to prove some stuff this upcoming year, and this will again be the biggest test for Matt LaFleur. For defensive coordinator on that side of things, Mike Pettin, if I had to bet, I don't see him going anywhere. If the Packers want to go and hire another DC, another defensive coordinator, it's going to be really interesting because you have Aaron Rodgers, who gives you some supreme value at quarterback. Obviously, that goes without saying. And you just have to put a top 10 defense, put a above average, one that's not going to blow games, one that's not going to allow 30-plus points in a conference championship game, and boom. So the reason I don't see Mike Pettin be moved on from is simply because they won 14 games with him. That's that's how I feel Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst are starting to look at this situation. And they had some stellar performances down the stretch. Nobody wants to talk about that. They had their errors. Mike Pettin's defense has its frustrations. Defensive backs playing 7 yards off. But what are you going to do? There's not the defensive coordinator job is not as appealing to as of the head coaching job. Shocker. It goes down to what are you going to be able to find? How much of a risk are you taking abandoning this guy that all of your players had played with before to move on to somebody else in the final one of the final years of Aaron Rodgers' career? Big test coming up. I'm going to go play the Madden franchise, and hopefully I don't go 7-9. A lot of questions about the Packers' future right now, and they're going to have to make a lot of big decisions this offseason. Should be a interesting one. Buckle up, folks. Make sure you subscribe to Underage Packers because we'll have that all covered for you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. As always, go Pack Go.